Well, as she would have said it, it was destiny. It was destiny. It was destiny for me, I think, because opera and classical music was not at all part of my background growing up, and I would have never thought of making a film about an opera singer. And as I said maybe earlier, 6 years ago, she was a name I barely knew. And it was really that night at the Met Opera in January 2013 when I discovered Italian opera that night with Maria Stuarda, and Joyce Di Donato was singing that night. So there is a lot of serendipity in having her today interpreting Maria's words in the film. And that same night, coming back from the Met and completely excited by what I had just discovered, because I had never been exposed to something like this. And the music, the magic, the stage, this sort of mix of cinema and theater and music and singing and acting all at the same time was extremely exciting. And coming back home down 8th Avenue, I just searched on the internet whatever I could find about bel canto and Donizetti, and the first thing that came up was an aria sung by Callas. And that was really the beginning. It was the beginning of it all. That is the link between the woman and the artist. That is, I think, what made the artist so extraordinary, is because she fed all her interpretations with her own feelings, with her own life struggles and experiences, and she just fed that into the character, into the interpretation. And I think that's what moves us when we hear her sing. And in the film, it's a narrative on its own. There is a whole subtext throughout the film in the arias, and what you can understand and the insights that it gives about her, about Maria, through the arias. That's one of the reasons. The first couple years was a quest on retrieving Callas's friends, and it started here in New York, and I'm so humbled and happy that some of them are here tonight. So I want to thank them for their contribution. And then from America, going in various other countries, meeting these people who entrusted me with a lot of the personal material that you see in the film, the home movies, excerpts of letters and pictures. All of that side of Maria was really nourished with material coming from her friends. Some people who have never accepted to be part of any project before. And I'm thinking in particular of Bruna and Ferruccio, who are the people closest to her, who lived 25 years under the same roof, and who never took part in any project about her, and who opened their door and their heart to me, and opened the possibility to bring a lot of this material to the audiences today and to you today. That was the first part of the quest. Then the second part of the quest was researching every possible archive in the world, institutional, private, collections, libraries, television archives, especially looking for footage that was considered to be lost and bringing it back to light. And the third step that was closing into the editing time that took on its own 6 months, full time of editing, was bringing all this material back to life, because some of it had not been preserved in good conditions, if not at all. And a big challenge was the restoration and bringing this material back to today's standards, into high definition, and also to bring it in harmony throughout the film as just one complete piece, and not just a scattered display of it, but using the material to serve the story, and not just for the sake of it. And the answer is yes, absolutely. Because actually, when I talked earlier about my first journey of the first couple of years, when I went to meet all these wonderful people who were her friends and loved ones, I actually interviewed them. And I shot over 50 hours of rushes, of interviews with them. And in the beginning, I thought that the film would be a mix of interviews and of her performances and archival material. And I came to realize, as I was entrusted with the archives and the material that was coming from her friends and the additional material that was in the beginning of my research, I realized at a certain point, like a breakthrough, that there was something more ambitious and more challenging also to do, and that would be a film entirely in her own words. And as I said earlier, she was unique, and there could only have been a unique way to approach her. And my goal was to bring truth, to bring genuinity. And the only way at that point, to me, felt like making the film entirely out of archives. It's 100% out of archives, and in 100% of her own words. Even all the things that are in Joyce's voice are actually words that she wrote. And that would allow, and that was part of the breakthrough back then, that would allow people to get a true sense of who she was. Something I was craving for when I started. I sometimes say that I ended up making the film that I would have wanted to watch when I was discovering her. And it is a bit the truth, because I felt that we would get such a level of intimacy, an immersive feeling, that we would be just with her throughout the film on a journey. And she's like taking us by the hand and taking us along on that incredible journey of her life. And there is this sense of a dialogue between her and the audience that I just didn't want to disrupt. I wanted to keep it intact as a whole, so that you, the audience, get a feeling at the end of the film, and that's my deepest hope and wish, that you feel like you know her. You feel like you got to really know her. And you got to travel in time, in those beautiful years of the 50s and the 60s and the early 70s. And all of that is allowed thanks to this immersive experience. And that was the greatest challenge in making a film that would not suit a standard of a documentary film, but it would suit her.